Hey y'all, so I'm back again with another video, and this topic is why I'm waiting till marriage to have sex. Yes, I know that this is something not too many people do anymore, or they figure that this is like an old practice or something, but this is something that I do, and I really wanted to share with you why. Back in 2011, I made the decision to stop having sex, and you'll see why if you watch my testimony video. Then I'll link it below and you can go and watch that. And so it's been like 5 years since I have had sex. Yes, it has been hard. Yes, it has been difficult, but I've done it, and I believe that the reward is so much greater than the delay. Now, let me start off by saying that I think sex is awesome, and I think that it's one of the greatest gifts that God gave to us, and he definitely knew what he was doing when he created it, but he also knew what he was doing when he put sex inside the borders of a marriage. When you have sex with somebody, you're bonded with that person. Whether you feel like you're a player or you don't have feelings or whatever you say, you're still bonded to that person. So you keep having sex with multiple people. You're bonded to all these people. You're taking everybody into each bedroom that you go into. I wanted to do something cool because I like doing like pros and cons lists, and I want to give the pros and the cons to wait into marriage to have sex. So first, I'm going to start off with the pros. The pros, number one, is that you get to know yourself better. I didn't know a lot about myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know a lot of my fears. I didn't know a lot of my insecurities until I became celibate, until I stopped engaging in sexual activity. I got to know myself because I always covered it up with other stuff. And if you watch my testimony video, you'll see how I felt a void, and every time that I felt that, I needed a guy to feel that. And I wouldn't have known that unless I stopped completely. And so you get to know yourself so much better. It's a lot of us that don't know ourselves. We don't know nothing. We don't know our fears, our dislikes. We think that we do these things or whatever, but we don't really know. The second pro is that you really get to know the person that you're dating. Your mind is not clouded by how much you yearn for them because you are sexually active with them, and you don't have to think that you love them and get it confused with actually that you lust them, that you really you yearn for their body. You don't have to get those things confused. You can really know them. A lot of people don't even know simple things like their favorite color or other things, or how this person reacts when he gets mad or whatever, or you don't have that time because all of your engagements, besides hanging out or whatever, y'all actually doing it. Y'all don't spend that time to not be focused on the physical and more of the mental. The third pro, which is really the first pro, is that you get to know God better. It's a lot of things that God will reveal to you and show you when you're walking in his will, when you're being obedient to him. And so a lot of the questions you may have about life, a lot of things that you're going back and forth about, what's my purpose, all this stuff, a lot of that you will get those answers when you be obedient to God, when you're walking with God and cutting out the things that he tell you not to do. Number 4 is not having to worry about pregnancies. If you watch my testimony again, you'll see that I battle with that greatly, and that's the reason why I gave my life to God. But that was only one time that I shared, but there was multiple times where I always felt like I was pregnant, or it was just a hot mess. But anyways, you don't have to worry about being pregnant because you're not having sex. Number 5 is you don't have to worry about diseases. Yes, no diseases. You don't have to worry about, do I need to go see the doctor for this, or I need to get a pill for this, or testing for this. You don't have to worry about that stuff because you're not engaged in those activities that make you vulnerable to these diseases, to these infections, to these viruses, and all kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about that. Now let's talk about the cons. Number 1 is the amount of self-control that you have to have. I didn't know how much self-control I had until I was in the situation where I had to use my self-control. And you got to do whatever you got to do. You got to pull out a self-control out of any place that you can find it. And a lot of that has to do with not putting yourself in those compromising situations where you will fall into temptation. Which leads to my number 2 con, which is fighting temptation. Boy, that sucker is hard. Okay, let me tell you, it's hard. Not only do you have to use your self-control, but then you have to fight at the same time. You have to fight all them ideas. If you saying, oh, I'm not gonna do nothing, or I'm not gonna start it, but if he started, then that's his fault. Everything, you have to block all that out. Which leads to my number 3 con. And they all just flow into each other. They're probably the same thing. If you have an idea, if you have a thought that you really want to act on it, do not feed into it. Maybe you're aroused, maybe you're horny or whatever. Do not act upon those feelings. You might need to take a break. You might not want to Netflix and chill that night. You might not want to kiss him or her tonight. You might just want to just calm your little self down. And that's a con, because we're not really used to telling ourselves no. Like, a lot of us are bad with money, but the only reason we stop spending money is because we don't have no money in the first place. But as soon as you get money, you spend it. Like, a lot of us don't have that self-control, that discipline to fight that temptation and to not act upon those thoughts that we feel. And number 4 is the opinions of others. You see it everywhere you go. Sex sells. It's all on the TV. It's all on the music that you listen to. Other people encourage you to have sex. And you may feel embarrassed to tell somebody, I'm waiting till marriage. Because they probably think, especially if you're a guy, it's promoted to have sex. It's promoted to be a dog, to be a player. It's looked down upon. You look lame if you're not having sex. But you cannot live for those opinions, because neither one of them can send you to heaven or to hell. So you living for them and you gonna mess up and do the wrong thing. So do not worry about the opinions of others. And matter of fact, you probably don't need those friends, or you probably need to get some new friends. And once you get sex under control, it's like it's nothing that you cannot do. Boy, you done fought one of the hardest battles you can conquer. You can probably climb Mount Everest if you learn how to not have sex and wait till marriage. And one of the amazing pros, which I didn't talk about, is being blessed from your obedience. God does not bless disobedience. So we can't pick and choose the parts of the Bible that we want to follow just because it's not what we desire. It's a lot of things that we desire to do as people that we should not do. Imagine living in this world. The world already jacked up. Imagine living in a world and everybody got to do what they desired. Everybody who desired to go rape can go rape. Everybody who desired to go murder can go murder. Everybody want to steal, they steal. And then you mad because they stole your stuff because they acted on their desires. Just because you have the desire doesn't mean that it is of God. And even if it is of God, doesn't mean that it is the correct time for you to act out and perform that desire. Sexuality and the desire to have sex is not wrong. It is a godly desire. It's just not the right season to act upon those desires. And you have to have control over it so that when you feel like having sex, you tell yourself no. Your body should not dictate whether or not you're going to obey or disobey God. Sex is only going to last for a certain amount of time compared to a God who loved you and adored you before you was even born, before you even knew what sex was. And when he says to do something or to not do something, he's not saying it to be mean. He's trying to protect you and preserve you and save you for something so awesome that he created just for you. And when you take yourself out of it, instead of looking at it as far as this is what I can't do and this is too hard for me, and look at it the way God sees it, and the way he sees is that I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want them to get these diseases. I am a great guy and I want to share my beauty with them, and I want to share something so wonderful with them. If they would just wait and they would just obey me, then they would be able to see all the beauties in life that I have for them. And this doesn't just go for sex. This goes for everything that God wants you to do. He wants to reveal these things to you. He wants to show you things, but he needs you to be in line with what he says so that he can give it and reward you for being faithful. He knows everything and he sees everything, and he just wants the best for you. And so when it's time to have sex, you'll know because you'll have that ring on your finger. All right, y'all, if you like this video, make sure that you comment and subscribe down below. Bye.